work with a lot of just mom and pop businesses, right? They might be one or two people and they've been in an area for a long time. We love being able to help those people. But if you're asking for an ideal client, I think some complexity that is part of it could be a multi-location business or a franchise organization that has lots of parts and pieces that sometimes overwhelm other companies because maybe they don't have the team that is familiar with navigating all the buttons and dials associated with how to get not only good results for the parent organization, but the individual organizations that are part of that overall organization. So yeah, I would say that's probably a good description.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So you've been around long enough to when it was no social media, right?
Oh, gracious. Boy, you're hitting to the core here. I've been around since computers weren't part of marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
You used to have to put everything in a typesetting machine and it would print out galley proofs, and then you would have to wax them and paste them down on a board and then take a picture of them. And oh, it was painful.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was a fork in the road with, they called it desktop publishing back then, and the computers came into being. And I think we're sort of in that deja vu of AI and people going, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? And so I think we're in another fork in the road with AI. And it's interesting to still be around during this second fork in the road. So
yeah. So how do you think the internet and social media, how do you think it has affected business just in general, how people get clients, how people generate more revenue, and how you think it's and that's always pros and cons, but compared to when you first started, it's completely different.
Oh yeah, it used to be 3 networks: radio, newspaper, magazines, some direct mail, and the ability for a small business to make a dent in someone's perception of that business really depended on the budget of that organization. Did you have enough to put a TV commercial? How much is a radio spot going to cost? Maybe it's a black and white magazine, maybe not a color magazine. Is it a local instead of a national? That kind of thing. And so I think what happened, if we can just fast forward through the birth of the internet and how social media came to be, there is a perception that it's free and you should be able to, get the eyeballs of people. But what happens is when everybody thinks it's free and everybody thinks it's easy, there's a lot of clutter. There's a lot of noise. A lot of these social platforms are now publicly traded. They encourage pay to play instead of free exposure. And so the folks that are actually getting attention are able to understand that psychology. And so we've heard about stopping the scroll and what is your hook and how are you going to keep somebody interested for more than 30 seconds. Now you have to put in a little bit extra effort to think through, what does my audience actually want? What gives me the right to speak to them for more than 30 seconds? How am I going to intrigue them? And so I think we've lost a lot of that ability to connect with our audience, and people can say, oh, social media doesn't work, or SEO is dead now that AI is out. I think a lot of those people might be pushing the easy button and just putting out content that really doesn't beg anybody to care. Like, who wants to read all of this stuff that really doesn't mean anything? And so I think when you have a point of view and you are clear on that and you know exactly who can benefit from your product or service, you shouldn't be afraid to communicate that. And those are the brands that are getting attention. So I would say it's done a better job to allow people access to audiences they may have never had. But with that comes more responsibility to be thoughtful about that power that you have.
Yeah. I always say the internet has pros and cons, but it's also a blessing